welcome to a new video, and I'm finally getting around to reviewing EA Sports WRC, which will be simply called WRC from this point on because I'm not adding all of that bump at the start of it. So this title's been out a little while, but those of you who have watched recent videos will know I've been on a bit of a hiatus, so this is my first opportunity to really give it a review. And that's actually probably a good thing, because had I reviewed it at launch, and I did actually pick the title up at launch on PC, it would be a very different review to the one that I'm giving now, because quite simply at launch it was a mess. It was very similar to the mess that was WRC Generations in one key regard, and WRC Generations for me still suffers for this. Fortunately, WRC from EA Sports doesn't for me anymore, and that is around huge frame rate drop issues, and more importantly the stutters and micro stutters that plagued both titles. One still, Generations, and appears, certainly for me, to have been fixed. Now, this is a really important thing, because to be perfectly honest, you don't want micro stutters or stutters in any racing game, but you definitely don't want them in a rally title, because being perfectly honest, you're going so quick, you're following pace notes, you can't always see the corners, etc., and the stutters always seem to happen the moment you touch the brakes. That's probably just where I notice them the most, but that tends to be the case of where they're most disruptive anyway. And it really is just, or was, horrible. That, on the whole, appears to have been fixed post-release, post-patch 1.4, and I think we're up to about 1.5 or 1.6 on the patches now, which appear to be further optimising that. Now, in terms of the content you are looking at, these are recorded on my new rig, which has got an RTX 4070 in it, so that's effectively what you're looking at here. 1440 resolution, and pretty much everything maxed out on there, and I can hit 60 FPS plus quite easily on that, so it's working well, and it is a good looking title, and importantly it's a really good sounding title as well. But let's get into each of the review categories. Now, I am a little bit out of practice for this, so please forgive me if it wanders off on occasion, but we're going to start off with the driving sim side of things. Now, this is an interesting one for me, because in my view, this is definitely, from a driving point of view, more forgiving than Dirt Rally or Dirt Rally 2.0. It just seems on the edge to be a little more forgiving. But I've got to balance that with the fact that the tarmac handling, while still not perfect, it's always been the weak spot of the Dirt Rally series, and that appears to have carried over to a degree to WRC. But it has improved, so the tarmac handling is definitely better in WRC than it was in Dirt Rally or Dirt Rally 2.0. But overall, I find that the actual driving simulation side of it just appears to be a little more forgiving, and that's understandable given the audience that it's aimed at. But I do want to add one very, very important caveat here, and that is, while I feel that the driving simulation side of it has been very slightly knocked down from the predecessors, it is an incredibly enjoyable driving model that we've got here. It really is great fun, and I'm absolutely loving it in that regard. So please take that on board, given that I'm going to score this a 7.5, and that's not based on fun, that's based on how accurate alone the driving simulation is. Now, if you go back and look at my Dirt Rally 2.0 review, I think, yeah, I gave that an 8. So I have dropped it down a little bit in terms of the overall simulation value here, but I really, really like this driving model. It's not the last word in simulation. You want that, go and play a fully updated and modded version of Richard Burns Rally. That's not what we're looking at here. But yeah, it gets a 7.5, but it's a really, really, really good, enjoyable driving model that you've got here. Okay, so moving on next to our next one, which is the racing simulation side of things. Now, this is basically around the AI, how competitive the AI is, etc., etc. And you've got a good range of adjustability on the AI here. And AI is always a tricky one with rally titles because you don't actually see them. Well, unless you've got a special stage model, but we don't actually have any, a super special stage model, which we don't currently have at all in WRC. And looking at this, what I've found is that the AI appears to be a bit inconsistent, not necessarily across the entire duration of a rally stage, but once you actually start breaking it down into sectors, it gets a bit odd. And I found that across certain stages, I can be 5 seconds up on the AI. Next sector, I'm 5 seconds down on the AI. The next sector after that, I'm 5 seconds back up the... And I am just pulling numbers out of the air here, but it does happen. They seem to be really inconsistent across the sectors of a stage, but work okay at the end of a stage. And it's a little bit odd in that regard. Now, it's not as big an impact, being perfectly honest, because, as I say, we're not directly racing against other competitors. We're all racing against the clock, and at the end of the day, it's the stage time at the end that counts and the time at the end of the rally or championships that counts. And for that reason, I'm going to give it a 7.5. If this was a track-based title where, in one sector they were massively slower than in another sector, it will be a huge issue and it'd get marked right the way down. But I think they can just about get away with this discrepancy within a rally title. So yeah, I'm giving it a 7.5 on that one. Right, on to the ones it starts scoring extremely well against, and that first one is the Motorsport Simulation side of things. So you've got a championship mode where you can just drop into the championships and play around with that. You've then also got the actual full-blown career mode where you can basically start your own team or race for an existing team and mess around within all of that. It's got everything you would expect, and quite clearly a lot of this has taken inspiration from the work that Codemasters and EA have done on the Formula 1 titles. But it also takes some inspiration, without a doubt, from the former WRC titles, despite the fact that they were created under a different studio, because we've got the guest rallies and the historical rallies within the career mode, and on top of that you've got everything that you would expect within here around, building your team, managing their exhaustion levels and all of this kind of thing. So if you want to get into that sort of things, you can dive into it to the nth degree. They've got all of the structure of the rally pretty well done as well, particularly if you turn everything all the way up and you opt for full-length rallies with durations set pretty much how they would be for a real-world event, and you've got all of the service parks and everything within that too. So it is extremely well done, managing the damage and things like that, your tyre management. They've done an absolutely excellent job on the Motorsport Simulation side of things, and kind of like tapping into that, they've also got these rally moments in there which they're drip feeding out as time goes on, where basically you can take on either real life situations that have occurred and attempt to recreate them, so winning with a damaged vehicle, those kind of things. And they've created some fantasy ones around that as well, and they work really well. They're a good quick hit in that regard. and the variability that you can set for both the championship and the career mode in terms of the number of stages, the duration and things like that are really good. They add massively to the accessibility of the title, which we'll come back and talk about a little bit later on. But what it basically means is, overall, from a motorsport simulation point of view, it's a clear, easy 9 for WRC. It does a really good job of taking the WRC as a real-life motorsport and transporting it into a game. It does that brilliantly. So a 9 is an easy score here. I couldn't give it any higher than a 9 because it doesn't have, and we'll talk about this a little bit in content as well, it doesn't have any of the super special stages in there. It's got the Wolf Power stages, but it doesn't have any of the super special events in there and things like that, which is a bit of a shame. But hopefully we'll get those in either DLC in the future or in future releases. We don't yet know whether WRC is going to be an annual release. I strongly suspect it's going to be, or whether they're going to use it as a platform and just pile more stuff on top of it. We'll have to wait and see for that. Although, side note, there is a survey out at the moment that you can go and feed into and have your say on that, so that's quite interesting. Right, moving away from the motorsport side and onto the accessibility, and this is always an interesting category because it encompasses so many things. You know, how well does it support peripherals? And in that regard, it does extremely well, certainly from a PC point of view. I've not heard of any issues with any particular wheelbase, pedal set, handbrake, etc. not functioning with it. It's very controller friendly in that regard. It's got a lot of options for setting it up and using it. Does a massive range of graphics interface options on there, and then you've got your true accessibility options, things like colorblind mode, text to speech, all of that kind of stuff is well included within it. So it is an incredibly accessible title. As I mentioned earlier on, you've got a great deal of variability across the AI, how long the stages or the rally events are going to be. There's a lot of choice within that, and there's a lot of driver's aids that you can switch in and out, on and off, that basically help you whether you're a complete novice who's totally new to this, using a gamepad, who just wants to, you know, enjoy rallying in a virtual world, right the way up to the people who want to take it as far as the actual driving sim and the engine behind it will allow you to take it. So it's an easy 9 for accessibility. They've done an absolutely cracking job on that. And well done to them for that. And moving then on to the content. Now, content's always going to be a tricky one because your favourite rally car is always going to be missing. Your favourite location or stage is always going to be missing. And I've already mentioned how I'm a little bit disappointed that there are no super special stages in here. But that said, there is a hell of a lot of content in here. You've basically got, in terms of cars, 78 cars across 18 classes, and they, for the first time in a Codemasters title, because they've got the WRC license, we now have the Rally 1 hybrids in here, which are total weapons of vehicles, ludicrously quick. They are the closest thing to Group B we've had since Group B, being perfectly honest with you. You've then got the WRC 2 cars, which are excellent and a good choice amongst there. The mandatory junior WRC, which is actually quite enjoyable to throw around in this title. I always found them in the Kyloton series a little disappointing, a little anemic. They're actually quite fun to drive in here. You've then got World Rally cars from 97 through to 2011 and 2017 through to 21, so there is a little bit of a gap there of about 6 years. And the 17 to 21's only represented by 2 vehicles, so it is a little light. You've got a good range across that 97 to 2011 category. You've got some Rally 2 stuff in there, Rally 4 cars in there, including the Renault Twingo, which is a great little car that I absolutely love. You've got some R4 material in there, including the McRae R4, some Super 2000s, Super 1600 cars, including the Ford Puma, which I absolutely adore. F2 kit cars, and these for front-wheel drive cars in their day were absolutely brilliant cars. They really were quite amazing cars. And one of my favourites, the Renault Maxi Megane in there, which I've seen live in the British Rally Championship because I worked for Renault at the time that car was around as a competitor. You've got your Group A stuff in there, all of the usual suspects you would expect. Group B, both four-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive. Your historic 3 rear-wheel drive, historic 2 rear-wheel drive, historic 2 front-wheel drive, historic 1 front-wheel drive. And then on top of all of that, you can make your own cars in WRC, WRC2 or Junior WRC categories. And it's a really nice little feature to have. I've played around with it. I'm probably not going to invest a huge amount of time in it, but it does add to it. Now, there is, however, one glaring omission from the car list, and that is Toyota. You will not find a single Toyota in there. I strongly suspect it's a licensing issue. There have been rumours of the fact that Codemasters and Toyota fell out. I don't know if that's true or not. But at the end of the day, you don't have any Toyotas in there. And given Toyota's storied history with... actually, I'll tell a lie there. There is a Toyota in there. There's one, which is the Rally 1 Hybrid, but Toyota are going to have no choice in that because it's a licensed WRC title. When you look back historically, there are no Toyotas. Sorry, I had to correct myself there. When it then comes to stages, as I say, I'm slightly disappointed that there are no super special stages where you go head to head with another car, because some of those are really good fun and I really like some of them. But you have 600 kilometres of road across 200 stages, across all of the locations from the 2023 WRC, with a couple of misnamed ones thrown in. You've got Oceania, which is Indonesia, Rally Indonesia, and then you've got a Mediterranean-based one, which is Corsica, as far as I can tell. But on top of that, you've got Monte, Sweden, Mexico, Croatia, Portugal, Sardinia, Kenya, Estonia, Finland, Greece, Chile, the Central European Rally, Japan, Mediterraneo, Pacifico, Oceania, Scandia and Iberia. And those last ones, Mediterraneo, Pacifica, Oceania, Scandia and Iberia, are the made-up ones, sort of. They're just renames for rallies that have come before. So you've got a huge range of option on here, and the nice thing is you can pick any season and any weather for pretty much all of these. So you've got a whole host of stuff going on in there. Add into that the fact that you've got club events that work really well, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm currently participating in 3 club events, and they are absolutely brilliant. Really good fun where you can set up events and compete against friends, or complete strangers if you want, because EA run a number of these as well. So that's really worth looking into and adds to the longevity of the title. And then on top of that, you've got the functionality that, and if you're playing the game but you've not checked this out, head over to RaceNet and link your account on whatever platform you're planning, because you can go in there and have a look at everything you've ever competed in, including a really nice ability to see your car as it travels along a wireframe off the stage, look at where you made mistakes, how you compare and compete against other people. It's pretty much essential from a club's point of view, but it's really nice and quite handy overall and does add in to the value that you get for the title. So all of that content, that is, for me, quite comfortably a 9.5 on the content side of things. So absolutely brilliant in terms of content that you get, and if they do add further to this, that would be brilliant. Icing on the cake for me. Let's have some super special stages in there. Let's try and make friends with Toyota and get some historical Toyota vehicles in there. And a few locations, Rally Ireland and Rally GB, because you know, I'm a sucker in that regard. Would be absolutely great to add in there. So that comes on to our final category, which is value. And on PC, this retails for £45. And you get all of that content in there. And that, for me, is really good value for money in this day and age. I think they could have easily charged significantly more for that. I think you get a daft amount of content for that money. There appears to be no pay-to-win element of it or anything like that. There is a rally pass, but it works very similarly to the rally pass that's offered in the F1 titles. Or rather, it works very similarly to the pass that's offered in the F1 titles, in that basically it's pretty much just cosmetics. One of the things that does niggle me ever so slightly is, unless you've got a paid EA Play account, you don't get some of the moments. And that does annoy me. That's nothing to do with the Rally Pass, that's to do with the fact that they've locked some of the moments behind EA Play. And that just annoys the living hell out of me, because I don't want to pay for EA Play. I'm not going to get the value out of it, considering the fact that I am primarily, from a gaming point of view, a sim racer. So I'm going to buy the titles outright. There's no point in me spending money on, you know, a monthly subscription to EA just to get some additional moments. But it does annoy me that they're locked away. So you might have scored a 10 if it wasn't for that, EA. I know you don't really care about some YouTuber with less than 3,000 subs, but you might have got a 10 in this category from me if you hadn't have done that. But there we go. From a value point of view, it's a 9 you're getting instead. So it's still a pretty good score. So what is my conclusion around EA WRC? Well, I've got to be perfectly honest, despite the fact that, yes, the driving simulation side of it is dumbed down a little bit, and the AI can be a little bit inconsistent across the entire duration of a stage once you look at the sector times. Everything else is nailed down, and, you know, that driving sim not being the highest fidelity of simulation isn't a negative. This is, now that they've sorted out and are continuing to sort out the frame rate and the stutter issues, this is just a really good fun title that I am enjoying a hell of a lot. Now, if you've watched any of my reviews before, you know I don't give a final score, because the score I give for each of the sections, really, it's down to your individual interpretation of what you look for in a title as to how relevant they are to you. You know, if you want the next Richard Burns rally and that's all you care about, this isn't it. And what I've scored in the other categories probably won't make a damn blind bit of difference in that regard. So I don't give a final score, I give a recommendation as to whether I think this is a title worth buying. And from that point of view, absolutely, yes, I do. If you are looking for an accessible rally title with a bucket load of content, loads of stuff to do, that looks good, now does run pretty well as well, I speak from PC. Let me know in the comments below if that's not the case on console, because I've not tried it on console and I won't be. So do let other people know in the comments if that differs. But overall, yeah, this is a really good title, and if you are looking for an accessible but deep and really rewarding rally title that not only supports the current WRC but also historical rallies, then yeah, this is a winner. So that's my review of EA WRC. If you've enjoyed this video, please do hit the like button, and if you want to see more content like this, please do subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when new content gets uploaded. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye.